we hope, of course, that, with the uptick in COVID, that you and your families are remaining safe and well, and that everybody is healthy. We want to congratulate you again for, winning this amazing grant. And we just want to thank you for all of the amazing work that you are doing to keep New York City thriving, surviving, and moving forward. Again, we are very grateful that you have taken out time from your busy schedules to, come be with us so we can fet you and celebrate you and learn about all of the good things that you are doing. And so today's session is going to be both informative and interactive. So, be prepared to, hop in to, be part of the conversation, to share what it is that works for you, things like that. And then I'm going to now tell you who I am, and then I'm going to hand it over to my colleague. So I'm Dr. Lessie. I am the Director for Community Relations at Citizens, and I'm on the program team. So again, welcome and buckle up because it's going to be an amazing ride. Katie, over to you.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Leslie. I am Katie Gracely. I am one of the co-directors for the programs team at Citizens Committee for New York City. And then we have my other colleague, Dee. Dee, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, so excited to meet everyone. My name is Dee, program manager with working with Katie and Leslie.
Awesome. So now you know our programs team, but who is Citizens Committee? Some of you are new in the room. Maybe this is your first grant. Some of you might have been in our family for a long time, but Citizens Committee actually started in the 1970s during the fiscal crisis. So it was a time when New Yorkers, things like basic needs like sanitation was not being taken care of. And so Citizens Committee was supporting New Yorkers to roll up their sleeves and come together to improve the quality of life in their community. So we continue to do that today. We support everyday New Yorkers through a few different ways. So grants is one of the ways, so small grants that we give to both community leaders as well as businesses. During the pandemic, supporting businesses as a fabric of our neighborhoods has been a high priority for us. We also support through community convening and bringing people together through events like this and through other events like Rethink and Rebuild, which my colleague Leslie is going to get into later. But we are not a city agency. Sometimes people think we are part of the city. We partner with a lot of city agencies, but we are a nonprofit. And so again, we support New Yorkers like you. We started during a fiscal crisis. We're in another, pandemic, a crisis, but you all are really stepping up, supporting your neighbors and supporting each other. So we're just really excited to meet you all. So Dee is going to lead us in a little activity to get to know everybody in the room a little bit more. So Dee, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Katie. So to get us warmed up, let's just try to use the reaction buttons and the chat function, which you have all been using very well. So let's see, can we get everyone from the Bronx? Use your raise your hand or reaction button. Show us who you are. And Katie, can we remove spotlight so we see everyone? Amazing. A lot of Bronx people represented. If you're on a desktop, you can now go and see in the gallery view, there are a lot of Bronx represented. Amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome, Bronx. And now can we have Brooklynites? Anyone from Brooklyn raising your hand? Amazing. Thank you so much for joining from Brooklyn. A lot of you, these are all of your friends. Okay, now let's see where are people from Staten Island? Can we see our Staten Island fellows? Yes, amazing, we see you. And then now let's go to Queens. Amazing, hands are still popping up. Thank you so much. Welcome. Amazing. Last but not least, can we see Manhattan? Okay, a lot of groups joining from Manhattan, still hands popping up. Thank you so much. And now let's see like where specifically you're from. Now let's use the chat function. Just type in our chat which neighborhoods you're from, and you can only find your neighbors in the chat. So just let us know which neighborhoods you're representing. Let's take a few minutes just to see who's in the room. Amazing. I see Brooklyn Navy Yard, Dumble, all over the Bronx. I also see House Kitchen, Flatbush, Crown Heights, East New York. Yeah, Stapleton, Kingsbridge. Yes, amazing. Thank you so much. Keep the chat going. And now our next interactive question is, what is the type of work that you do? If you can summarize the project you're doing or the work of your organization in like 2 to 3 words, so we can see what are the types of projects that we are working on to help improve the city. I see public mosaics, food justice, amazing. Climate change, community gardens, self-defense, urban agriculture, overdose prevention, fitness, mental health. All of this is amazing. Yes, keep the chat going. And now I would also like to have, first, all of you from Manhattan can lower your hand. Feel free to use the chat function and the raise your hand function throughout the meeting if you have questions. And also later we'll have Q&A so you can have your questions answered. And I'll ask my colleague Katie to actually share a screen. We put together a really helpful map for you to see who are the people in your cohort. Is loading, at least for me. Yes, amazing. Some of you might have already seen this in the packet that was shared early last Friday. So this is a map that you can see all of the 143 groups that we're funding in this current cohort. We'll also keep adding new grantee partners to the map. So you'll see that the different colors represent the different kinds of projects. Most popular project type is beautification and open spaces, followed by food and healthy living, along with arts and culture. So this is what you indicated in your application. You can also zoom in to see what are my neighbors doing. You can also look at what are some other people working in arts and culture do if you're an arts and culture organization. If you click on one of the little icons, you'll be able to see the group information. Okay, now we're at City Island Oyster Reef. So I'm not sure if this group is represented, but basically you'll see the project category and also the snapshot of the project. And if you scroll down, you'll see their zip code and also any web presences. So you can follow them on social media or visit their website if you're interested in collaborating with them or getting to know them. If you're interested in connecting any of the groups on this map and you don't seem to find their contact information, reach out to us and we are always happy to help make the facilitation. So that's it for now. We also have a few citizen staff represented here in this room. We'll go around and do a really quick introduction and we'll start with Rasan.
Hello, so inspired by you all being here. I am the CEO. I am going to introduce myself really quickly and also let my colleagues introduce themselves, and we're going to drop off. But a couple of things that you need to know about Citizens Committee is that our grant resources are just one part of the value that we bring to the city. The larger part is the fact that we're bringing all of you wonderful people together, representing all backgrounds, every corner of the city together with your ideas to improve the city. So the city is going to be safe because of what you're doing. The city is going to be innovative, it's going to thrive, it's going to be beautiful. Cultures will persist and it'll be sustainable because of all of your efforts. And we're just so thankful that you applied. And we want you to share your stories with us, as you'll learn from my colleagues, that we want to be a platform and we want you to engage with us to continue to build your capacity and your ability to be seen by the rest of the city and by your colleagues so that we can do even greater work together. So thank you so much. And I wanted to hand it off to my colleague, Carolyn Bernal.
I'm Carolyn. I'm Director of Operations here at Citizens, and I help coordinate behind the scenes for all of your applications to get filled out, and also for the grant agreements and eventually your payments, which I'm sure you're all eagerly awaiting. So congratulations, everyone, and best of luck for your projects and for the future. Thanks. I think perhaps my colleague Sarah Adams should go next.
Hi, my name is Sarah Adams. I'm the operations manager. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, I also help with everything Carolyn just listed. So congratulations again. I'll pass it to my colleague, Trisha.
I'm Trisha Anderson-Rye, and I'm the head of finance and operations at Citizens New York City Committee for New York City. And we're so thrilled to see all of your faces and for the wealth and growth that you're bringing to the city and everybody doing their part to help us rebuild New York City after this pandemic that we've all been through. And I work with Carolyn and Sarah, and we make sure that all the money goes out. And if you ever have any kind of issues, just feel free to drop me a line and I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Trisha. I think that's everybody who is able to join us for right now. But if someone else hops on in a little bit, we'll make sure to put them in the spotlight and share some information. Great. So now we're going to get into some of the technical stuff. So all that fun stuff, basically, of how do you get your grant. So I'm sure that's why many of you are here today. You want to hear, maybe you've submitted your grant agreement and you're waiting to get those funds, or maybe you have some questions about your grant agreement. So all of the information we're about to cover, that is in the packet that you received on Friday, on May 20th. So if you RSVP'd by noon last Friday, then you have this information. If not, I'm just going to put a link to this packet in the chat. So then you don't have to worry about taking notes or trying to jot down anything. And we'll be sending this to you all again after this session as well. But we would love for you to submit your grant agreements by May 31st. So these grant agreements were sent via DocuSign. So if you haven't received them, an email from DocuSign, please make sure to check your spam folder just in case it's in there. But if you can't find it, reach out to us as soon as possible through grants@citizensnyc.org if you still can't find it. So after your grant agreement is submitted, then we are able to start the grant disbursement process. So this isn't automatic and this isn't fast. We have to go in and we have to manually request certain items. So expect about a 4-week turnaround time from the time you submit your grant agreement to the time that you actually receive your funds. It also depends on the payment method and if any information from the grant agreement is missing, and maybe we have to reach out. So please make sure to follow instructions very closely, but also if you have any questions about the grant agreement, feel free to reach out to us. So I mentioned the turnaround time kind of depends on the payment methods that you are using. The first payment method, and something we highly suggest you use, is direct deposit. Direct deposit has a few really important steps that we want to make sure that you follow. So one is that you will receive an email with instructions to set up an account with something called bill.com. Some of you might get very excited, but don't try to set up a bill.com account until we email you. And to complete the setup, make sure that you're accepting the invitation that we send to you, and then also complete the setup with all of your information. It will take about a week after you complete the setup for the funds to be deposited. So Dee, can you tell us a little more about check payment methods?
Yes, for sure. So let me actually first maybe remove you from Spotlight and Spotlight myself. I just put the packet in the chat, so feel free to take a look. Okay, so for those of you who are choosing check, you'll be getting a physical check mailed to the address you provided in your grant agreement. Please make sure that you deposit it right away. If you're working with a treasurer who is not kind of like actually involved, or you're working with a fiscal sponsor, please make sure to tell them be on the lookout for the check. It will be around 3 weeks since you submit your grant agreement, 3 to 4 weeks. If after that time frame you haven't received the check, please reach out to us and we can assist. The other question that's included in the grant agreement is actually who is receiving the payment. So there are 3 options. The most straightforward one is just your organization, your group. So if your group has a group bank account, you can definitely receive the funding in your group bank account. However, that is not the case for everyone. So we offer 2 additional options. The second option is individual payment. So as a project leader, or if you have a treasurer for your group, you can receive the payment in your individual bank account. So just choose individual in the grant agreement. The other step that we ask you to do is actually have another person actively involved in the project to reach out to us once you receive the payment. So this is just making sure that there's transparency throughout the process, that another person in the group also knows that the grant is dispersed, received, and will be spent. You can find a template for how to write up that email for your grant confirmation in the packet in the individual payment section. So please refer to that to see what you need to get back to us. So that is for individual payment. Just making sure once you receive the funds, please let us know. And last but not least, you can also choose a fiscal sponsor. So a fiscal sponsor is a nonprofit organization that helps you keep your book and take the funds. Depending on the fiscal sponsor and your relationship with them, they either charge a nominal fee or they do not charge a fee. So it really depends on that. We cannot assist on cultivating that relationship furthermore. So if you choose to get fiscal sponsor, we'll need 2 documents from you. One is your fiscal sponsor's 501c3 status determination letter. And 2, we need a letter from your fiscal sponsor stating that they approve the fiscal sponsorship. So after or before you submit your grant agreement, please make sure that you send those 2 documents to us at grants@citizensnyc.org. And if there are questions in the room about grant agreement and getting payments, we'll leave time for Q&A after around 6 p.m. You can join Katie and my room to talk more about that. So now I will hand it over to my colleague, Leslie.
All right. So I'm back on screen. All right. So I am going to talk to you about final reports. So we will be sending links by the end of August 2022, and you will need to submit a month after you've completed your project, but by the end of June 30th, 2023. So your report should reflect what you've done, tell us about some impact that you have had, how many people have benefited from the services that you have implemented with your project. We really want to know some of those good stories about what you have done with your project to help with the quality of life in your community. Next, I want to talk to you about workshops and convenings. As our CEO said at the top of his remarks, we are grant makers, but in addition to making grants, what we also do is connect people and we build capacity. And so the way we do that are through workshops and convenings. And I'm going to ask you to mark your calendars for June 16th, because that's when we will be having our next Rethink and Rebuild. It's a community conversation that Citizens has every month, every 3rd Thursday of the month from 12 noon till about 1, where we have a featured speaker talking about an issue or a topic of importance and relevance to our community of leaders who are doing work in community. So that's one such example of a convening and a workshop that we do. Also want you to put on your calendar, and I don't remember if we've settled on the date yet, but in mid-October, we'll be having an impact summit, right? And that's where we will be gathering our grantee partners, our community leaders who are doing work in community to make the thing happen. We will be convening city agencies, other partners, elected officials to talk about the impact that they are having in community. Another kind of get together that we will be having are borough huddles, and we are looking to kick those off rather soon. So definitely keep your eye on your email and be sure to mark email from citizens as safe. So this way it doesn't go to spam. And loose association, if you're ever expecting an email from us and you don't see it in your box, definitely check your spam to see if it may have gone there. So with regard to the borough huddles, what we're hoping to do is to gather each borough. And so there are 5 boroughs. We plan on having 5 borough huddles where we can gather in a virtual room and talk about the things that are top of mind for you and see how we can connect you to one another, how we can help you build capacity in the work that you are doing, and how we can just support you, again, to make what you are doing, come to life, come off the page, so we can keep New York moving forward, thriving, and surviving. And so, what do you do if you have questions or need support? I'm going to toss it back to my colleague, Dee.
Yes, thank you, Leslie. Those are many ways that you can connect with us. So the other way that you can connect with us is actually signing up for 30 minutes project planning assistance with Katie, Leslie, or I. Our Calendly information is in the packet that you just saw in the chat. And I'm also going to put the Calendly information for all 3 of us in the chat. So for these sessions, we are happy to serve as a sounding board. If you were, thank you, Katie. So for these project planning assistance sessions, you can bring your questions about your grant projects. If you want to work on something that's separate from your grant project, but for your group, for example, if you want to launch a fundraising campaign, or if you're working on finding partners, or if you are working on collecting with elected officials, we are here happy to help. So if you have a question, need a thought partner, just reach out to one of us, and we each have different expertise. Katie has more experience working with environmental projects. Leslie is great for policy work and also connection with elected officials. I work more with arts and cultural projects. So feel free to connect with us. In the meantime, Katie and I are also the people who are sending you the grant agreements, and we'll also be reaching out later to connect. So for those of you who have more technical questions, feel free to reach out to one of us. And you should be able to identify that in the grant agreement because one of us sent you the information. And for the most part, for groups that is starting with A through M or before M is in my batch. And the rest of the groups from M to Z are in Katie's batch. So that is a way to identify who your point person is. If you have more questions, one of the 3 of us will be able to address it. So that is how you connect with us. And now I'll hand it back to Katie so that we can have this little celebration breakout session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dee. So we just gave you all a lot of information, but again, that is in that packet that we shared with you. So if you missed something, don't worry. We're going to send you this recording too. But now we've done a lot of talking, and now is the time for you all to be able to connect, celebrate, share the awesome work that you've been doing, and really connecting with other community groups that are in the room. So we're going to do this through a fun activity. It's called an elevator pitch activity, which is basically a way to share the work and the project that you're doing very concisely. And and pretending that maybe you're meeting a donor or a potential person who wants to volunteer. I know there's a lot of community gardens in the room, a lot of people working on open spaces. And I know you all have those fence people that are really curious about what's happening in your space, but they're not quite ready to come in and join or volunteer. So these elevator pitches can be a really great way to capture someone's attention and excitement about the project that you're doing. So we're either fundraising through this elevator pitch or fundraising, getting those volunteers involved in your project. So kind of thinking about the project that you've gotten funding for from us, you're going to pretend that you're in an elevator with someone who could be a potential donor or maybe a volunteer for your project. And you're going up to the 33rd floor. You have no more than 1 minute to tell this potential donor or volunteer about your group, its mission, and the project for which you're seeking funding. So in other words, you really want to make them interested in your project and want them to either fund it or take part in it. So we're going to give you a few examples before we throw you into a breakout room. So Dee, I'm going to call on you if you can give us an example of an elevator pitch.
Yes, for sure. So now I'll give my example. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dee. I represent the Walt Whitman Initiative. We are a nonprofit that celebrates and honors New York City's literary legacy, promotes cultural activism, and presents poetry-related events. On Sunday, June 19th, from 4 to 7 p.m., we'll host our 19th annual Son of Myself Marathon, a reading marathon of Whitman's free verse-style poem, Son of Myself. We cordially invite you to join us on YouTube to watch this live production with poetry reading in multiple languages, along with musical performances. Sign up at waltwhitmaninitiative.org and get with us on June 19th at 4 p.m.
Awesome. Thanks, Dee. So what we kind of heard is Dee's name, the mission of her group, and the ask. So really, what is she hoping to get you to do? So that's actually signing up for an event. The other hand, asking for funds for a specific project. I'll give you an example from the Citizens Committee end. So, hey, everybody, I am Katie. I am a program director at Citizens Committee for New York City. And we're a nonprofit that provides support to everyday New Yorkers who want to come together and improve the quality of life in their neighborhood. So by support, we mean through workshops, amplifying stories, providing small grants, and community convenings. So we've successfully partnered with local elected officials and grassroots funders, and we provide virtual programming to community leaders. So we're seeking $10,000 so that we can host an impact summit where community leaders, local elected officials, and other funders can come together to discuss how to support New York City in recovering from the peak of the pandemic. So in there, I have, my specific ask of how much money and what that money is going to go towards. So there's no perfect pitch. Really, what you want to make sure comes through is your passion or excitement for the work that you're doing, which we all know you have, and really trying to keep it short and sweet. So no more than a minute, really trying to capture that person's attention. Other ways for successful pitches is practicing and saying it out loud. It can be in a mirror, it can be with friends, it can be with family. So those are just some tips for a successful elevator pitch. So what we're going to do now is before we get into our breakout rooms, I'm going to give you about 2 minutes just to brainstorm and jot down an elevator pitch that you all would want to share with the group. So I'm actually going to set a timer for 2 minutes. And I'm going to give you all that time. So feel free, Word document. I like writing things down. So going to have you do that now, and then I'll bring us all back in 2 minutes. So we're going to go to breakout rooms for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to call you all back around 5:55. It's going to be groups of 3 people. And each person is going to share their elevator pitch. So sharing the project and the work that they're doing, trying to potentially partner with someone in the room, but also just practicing being able to share the work with someone. And then when we all come back at 5:55, we're going to ask one brave soul to share that elevator pitch with the whole group. No pressure, but just mentally preparing whoever may want to. So make sure, again, we have 15 minutes. So it's a way in your breakout room is really to get to know one another, and also providing kind feedback on the elevator pitch. So what did you really like? What did you understand about the project? So we are going to get into those breakout rooms now. If you have any issues, you're going to be able to raise your hand, and me, Dee, and Leslie on the program staff are going to be able to go around and answer any questions. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms now. Something's going to pop up on your screen, and you just go into the room that you were assigned. Amazing. Welcome back, you all. I hope that was fun. You got to know some people that are part of your grantee cohort for this year. So we're really excited to have all of you here. So with elevator pitches, again, like practicing, I was telling some folks when I was popping into rooms, we have an event every month. It's a virtual event called Rethink and Rebuild, where we have guest speakers at the beginning, and then we pop into breakout rooms. So that's a perfect way to continue practicing your elevator pitch. We're basically asking people, share the work that you're doing, connect with other people. And so please join us every month so we can keep talking with you and hearing about your work. But I would love if for one brave soul would not mind sharing their elevator pitch. So if someone can just raise their hand, and I'll put you in the spotlight and unmute you. Oh, we got Priscilla. Okay, amazing. So I'm going to add you to the spotlight, ask you to unmute. Awesome.
Hi. My name is Priscilla Marco, and I'm the president of the Van Duzer Street Civic Association. And we are the founders of an open streets program called Stapleton Saturdays, where we've brought cultural activities, music performers, art for kids, and just close down the street and have families play in the street. And our biggest challenge with this has not been doing it, because we did it for 18 consecutive Saturdays last year, and we're going to be doing for 8 this year. But the biggest problem is funding it, because the city offers us money, but it's reimbursable. So for small organizations like us, it becomes a huge challenge to have the money on hand to be able to do the program. And we really, it's a lot of stress just trying to figure that out. So I'm looking for anyone and everyone. And in my group, I actually made a connection that may help. We're looking for how we can do this so that we can focus on the work, which is having a safe, fun, enjoyable program this summer and fall.
Thank you, Priscilla. I really liked how you shared some of the successes and how things were going really well. But then the challenge is you need the funds to keep it going. And that's really, really also great to hear that you were able to make some great connections in your breakout room and might be getting some support that way. So very exciting. So I see some other hands raised, and unfortunately, we can only have one person sharing with the group. But definitely, again, attend some of our future programming. We'll keep you all posted on that. And that's a time that you can share the work that you're doing as well. It's 6 o'clock. We realize people have families. You have dinner. You might be starving. You might have been working all day and you need to eat food. So if you need to drop off now, feel free to. But what me, Dee, and Leslie are going to do is we're going to stay on until 6:30. We're going to do 3 breakout rooms. You can join my room or Dee's room to learn more about grant agreements. If you have questions about those, we're happy to give you some guidance. If you have questions about getting funds, join my room or Dee's room. If you have questions about connecting with local elected officials, or some of our community convenings, then join Leslie's room. So she's going to tell you a little bit more about that. But again, if you have to hop off, feel free to. We're going to send a follow-up email with a recording to this video, as well as the packet again. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you in our breakout rooms, but if you need to hop off, we really appreciated your time today.